And the worst part? No one could remember it. Not really. Just fragments and fleeting memories of an achingly familiar world.
Putting aside the revelations from Nier, Final Fantasy XIV is a setting in which identity being treated as personhood is regularly established. Loss of identity equals death. Souls cleansed in the ethereal sea and reincarnated are, for all intents and purposes, new people. This is addressed in both Reen and Gaia's arcs and Shadowbringers. It's also true for rejoinings. The souls of the Shard merge with their counterpart on the Source, yet the story doesn't shy away from calling it murder. This leaves us with two ways to interpret what we know that isn't internally contradictory. We either acknowledge we cannot apply a real-world definition of death to the setting and accept that, within the internal logic of the game, loss of identity is equivalent to death, meaning the Sundering was murder, or we conclude nobody truly dies in this universe outside of the rare case of soul destruction, noting the latter is not the perspective the game has historically taken. Regardless of your interpretation, the Sundering identity death, or worse, every living being on the star. It wasn't only the people who were in favor of the third sacrifice, but those who didn't agree with it and anyone not involved in the decision-making process, such as children. It also wasn't only the adamant souls of the ancients, there was implicit collateral damage. A loss of this nature is also something Alphino vehemently opposed in Shadowbringers, saying, "But what value is there in surviving when all our history, all our struggles will be erased? I cannot conscience such an act."
No, I didn't hear anything, but... why do I feel so... like I've lost something dear to me?
Alice later says, "The star shower didn't awaken me to Hydaelyn's voice, but that vision of the final days, of Amarat burning, it filled me with sadness to the very pit of my being. Things I once knew, people I once loved, promises I once made. It felt as though long-forgotten memories were dancing at the edges of my mind, but when I try to focus on them, they simply fade away, an effect of having a fractured soul, I shouldn't doubt. Yet no one has any words for Hydaelyn. What she took from mankind, a loss that is persistent through the memory of the soul and its shards, cannot and should not be understated. This idea that the perpetuation of life mattered more than the welfare of the life that existed doesn't engage with any counter-arguments either. Her admission there was no kindness nor justice in the tragedy I wrought does not absolve her, especially when she expresses no regret and only cares that the Warrior of Light was able to surpass her. Speaking of whom, the Warrior of Light was 9/14, or roughly 64% rejoined at the time of both meeting Venat and defeating Endsinger, sundering the world into 14 parts, when 2 should have suitably met the threshold for Dynamis, would seem excessive in retrospect. The Watcher tells us after Zodiark's defeat, he believes Hydaelyn did not wish to speak of Atheris and her history, and later, in Omega Beyond the Rift, mentions his memories being cut away, and that as a creation of hers, he believed the age of the ancients would be forgotten. This is also corroborated by Elidibus in Shadowbringer's epilogue, where he says, "The origins of the world remain hidden, and its inhabitants ignorant of their broken existence, just as she desired." It's possible a one-half split may have been insufficient damage to selfhood to ensure that level of memory loss, and the subsequent erasure of the ancients' culture, history, and even existence as a race. During Pandemonium, La Habrea comments multiple times on the Warrior of Light's unusual and vexing composition of ether, noting it's unlike anything he's seen, and when discussing La Habrea excising part of his soul, Themis comments, "You nearly rewrote your existence, and that you escaped with your life was nothing short of a miracle." Maiming the soul was recognized as something that would fundamentally alter, if not kill a person. As it was, it still resulted in a personality change that didn't go unnoticed by other members of the Convocation, and La Habrea mentions keeping the crystal housing his severed soul out of fear should something go awry with the remainder of it. Touching back to the Plenty, The decimation of the ancients didn't inherently change the nature of mankind. They continue to seek advancement, pursue a better world, and aim for the best of all futures. This is the motivation of all of the protagonists. As long as mankind does not destroy itself or is destroyed by another force, they will eventually reach the same point as the ancients, where the majority of their suffering has been mitigated. The Sundering merely delayed the issue to some point in the future.